This is a story I very rarely tell. And I don't tell it really because most people won't believe me, or they won't believe that the story really means anything. And those who do believe me might get some sort of thrill from the spookiness, which isn't really the point of the story either. So I just don't usually tell this story. I am, after all, a very rational person. I love science. I don't generally bother with things that can't be investigated and proven. But I'm telling this story anyway, because what happened was real. Even if I don't know or can't prove anything about what it meant or if it meant anything at all. In February of 2004, my grandmother, with whom I was quite close, collapsed. She was 87. She had a leaky valve in her heart. After a few days in the hospital, she went home, where she entered hospice. For the next 6 weeks, we all spent a lot of time with her. At first, it was sort of with this force of crisis, with everyone kind of flying down at once, filling her living room with 4 generations of us. When it seemed clear that death wasn't actually imminent, my mother and her brother took turns living in my grandmother's Floridian apartment with her as she moved slowly toward the end. They slept in the bed next to her, held her shrinking body, reminded her of the long life she'd lived, and as was normal for my grandmother, they and we all laughed a lot. It was a very sad but also kind of a sweet and beautiful time for my family. So one night I was home. I was in bed in New York, and I woke because I couldn't breathe. I sat straight up. I was desperately gasping for air. There was none, absolutely none. I couldn't open my throat enough even for a wisp of air. It was like, just imagine for a moment, like you wake up and you can't breathe, right? There's no air at all. I was completely and totally terrified. I was making no sounds. There was nothing coming in. There was nothing going out. My head was spinning. I was trying to figure out what to do. I actually was thinking, I'm going to pass out any minute now. So more and more desperately, I'm trying to get air in and out of my lungs. And finally, something released, and I could breathe this thin breath. And another, and my body relaxed and opened, and air could move in and out. And I was breathing. Oxygen was again available. My heart began to slow. The panic was subsiding. I looked at the clock. It was 2:36, and I went back to sleep. 4 a.m., the phone rang. It was my mother. She was sobbing. My grandmother had died. She apologized for calling so early, but said she really wanted to wait, but she couldn't really wait anymore, that she'd waited a little while, and it was too much to just sit. So I asked her how long she had waited. When did Grandma die? And she said it was about 2:30 when she drew her last breath. Now, I can't explain what happened to me that night, and I'm absolutely not going to try. Nothing like that has ever happened since. It had never happened before. Were these things, my grandmother's death and my inability to breathe, were they related? Or am I drawing conclusions from an odd coincidence? Was my grandmother's final breath somehow felt by me? Was I connecting to her or she to me as we were both seeking air? Was I experiencing her last breath? Was my breathing, my life tethered to hers? I don't know. But I find my own rationalism to be a little limiting sometimes. I can dismiss real experiences because I don't think they're logical or because I can't explain them scientifically. Were I listening to someone else tell that story, I might let my skepticism get the better of me. But I'm the one who lived it, and that was very real. I really could not breathe, gasping desperately for air. So I just try not to explain it. I don't have anything to say that would ease my rational brain. Interestingly, though, a few times I've told that story, and someone replies, I think really inevitably whenever I've told that story, it's only a few times, but someone replies with a parallel story. Others have had that or similar experiences when a beloved has died. I'm not the only one who may have touched the veil between life and death. At this time of year, we start to feel the layers between worlds thinning. Samhain is the Celtic pagan holiday we're marking this week. It literally means the end of summer. It's the time we shift from warmth to the cold of winter. It's the time of year the leaves fall and decompose into earth, which opens the space between dimensions. The presence of death, of so much plant matter moving between worlds, the sudden loss of leaves that filled the space around us conspire to thin the veil, bringing the two worlds of life and death closer. This is the pagan precursor to Halloween, when the spirits could move freely in and out. This is the time a breath breathed here might be felt in the next world. Halloween is fun, but the theme is supposed to invoke fear. Horror films, blood and gore, scream fest, choky rooms, haunted houses, they're all designed with the idea that this thinning of the veil is frightening. And I'm not critiquing any of that at all. In fact, my son is in the room really hoping I say nothing bad about Halloween. But, I mean, the reality is it's fun to be scared in that way. It's sort of cathartic. And dressing in a come-as-you're-not costume, walking through dry ice fog with sounds of crazed clowns laughing or a ghoul howling while you knock on strangers' doors seeking candy is a great way to spend an evening. But outside the holiday trappings, the presupposition is that this time of year, this thinning of the veil, this closeness of the other world is frightening. Or maybe that it should be. And I don't experience it that way at all. The other world, the world of the dead, is home to my grandmother. My father is there too. Both people who loved me infinitely. The other world feels friendly to me. There's love there too. My people are there. People I miss terribly. People I wish I could talk with or sit with, whose voices I want in my ears, whose hands I want to hold, whose advice I want to seek, whose food I want to eat. For me, the thinning of the veil is akin to feeling closer to someone I can't see, because I know they are right there on the other side, feeling my breath each time I exhale. The walls will get thicker again. We'll move back away, the worlds will separate, and we'll be left here without our beloveds. Our grief will return as it always does. We will again forget and remember we forgot and feel guilty and relieved and sad all over again. Even in this liminal space of feeling closer to those we've lost, we've still lost them. They are not here. Even if we catch a whiff of perfume or hear a laugh that brings us right back to some delightful moment, they're not here. They can't see how we've grown or be proud of some accomplishment or accept our apology or simply accompany us in our lives the way they once did. Mourning is supposed to be temporary, but there's a way in which it is constant, or that it comes and goes in waves, washing over us and then washing away, even as time passes with the turning of months to years to decades. It is no matter in the world of grief and longing. Time moves differently, making the past feel very present and then so distant again. Late October, early November offer us a gift of liminal space where the distance of death, the distance of love lost, diminishes. People around the world are gathering in circles, are calling to their loved ones, are ritualizing their longing and the sharing of this space before the veil becomes a wall again. Brother Zachary and I talked much about what it means to lose someone, what it means to somehow call them both forth and let them go. You have all written down the names of those you've loved, those you've lost. Some of you have brought some spectacular pictures here of people that we are calling forth into this space. We are using the element of fire to send our love and our longing and our memory into this liminal time so they can hear and see us. We are remembering the cleansing power of fire, the element of passion, of connection, will be our catalyst, bridging the space between here and there. We're going to sing together, Find a Stillness, and as we do, Brother Zachary is going to burn the papers that you have given us. These are the names we are calling forth. These are the people we are setting free.